Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom Sunday Brunch Show. I'm and of course we have Russ Whitfield with us today. How are you today, Russ?
I'm great, It's another scorcher in Lichfield, Maine. It's I think getting on towards 80 degrees at the moment. I think it is. So yeah, all lovely. Just looking forward to my coffee and a Sunday brunch chat with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning to everybody out there, Russ. It is always wonderful to be here on a Sunday brunch. And of course, we're going to say good morning to those of you who are joining us in the chat. Dennis Mason, how
All
are
right
you?
then.
Dennis has been sharing a lot this morning about Hollywood
Hmm.
and about different things, and I'm glad to see you sharing, Dennis. And we always like to hear your comments. He spoke about spending a week in Redlands, California, in 1961. And he says that's where Rob lives, or he suspects
Oh,
he does. Um, and certainly, it's wonderful to see you, Dennis Mason, this morning, as well as Mikey Lito.
hey, Mikey.
Good morning, Mikey Lito from Mikey Lito Live. He says, good morning, Russ and Tom. Good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning. Guys, check out Mikey Lito Live. He has his own YouTube channel. And of course, Mikey did a review right out of the theater of Thor, Love, and Thunder, which is
Hmm.
his most recent review. So definitely check that out. And we also have Retro Nerd Girls with us.
There she is. Hello, retro nerd girl.
I hope you are well, Retro Nerd Girl, guys. Retro Nerd Girl recently celebrated her 6th year on YouTube. So
It's
do check out
incredible.
her channel. It's amazing. Guys, if you love retro entertainment or even modern entertainment, check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. She says, good morning, got my coffee and ready for a stream while I edit my next video. We're certainly happy to have you here, Retro Nerd Girl. Um, and Mario Lopez is here with us.
Hey,
Hello,
Mario.
Mario. How are you? How's the weather across the ocean there? I sure hope you're having a wonderful day. And although I already told Russ, my neighbor is using a circular saw, so you may hear like these high pitched circular saw sounds, but I have to leave the window open or I'll be in trouble. Now, Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington says it's a tennis brunch. Are you talking about Wimbledon, Gary? Um, I think he might be talking about Wimbledon, but
He is. Yeah, I
perhaps
think it's
not.
the final today. Finals.
Yes, the Wimbledon finals, and it is the brunch at Wimbledon. I think they call it the afternoon at Wimbledon or something like that.
Hmm.
I love tennis, Gary, and I suspect you may be a fan too. So definitely enjoy the brunch as you watch the game, set, and match. Wonderful to have you here, Gary. And we also have Aster for Jaden.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Aster for Jaden. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's our pleasure to have you here with us as we're going to be talking about all sorts of things today. Um, I'm sorry, Darth Plato. Darth Plato. Hail to you, Darth Plato. Um,
Soundwave Darth Plato.
Absolutely. The classical scholar extraordinaire and so much more. Darth Plato, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Terrier, Terrier. Hi, Terrier.
Hey, man.
How are you? I hope you are well. Hope your family is well. It's wonderful to see you here, and I hope you're enjoying the summer. I hope you're getting out and doing all those things you want to do. God knows. I certainly hope you get a chance to do that. Let's see. Dennis says that R is one of two channels that doesn't 86 my fine. No, we're not going to. We're not going to do that, Dennis. We're just going to enjoy it. This is what we're here for, just to enjoy one another, hear everybody's concerns and different things that are going on. Uh, Michaelito talks about s'mores for the first time last night. Um,
Yeah,
Russ,
I had a s'more on the 4th of July to celebrate. I had hot dogs and a bit of Americana and my first s'more, and I'm forced to agree with Mikey. Okay, it was very 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 sweet. It sort of made my teeth hurt, but not an experience I would do again. But I'm glad I did it.
Well, Mikey Lito shares quite a bit of your sentiment here. He says he tried s'mores for the first time last night. Icky gooey mess, yum, very tasty though. So yeah, it's great that you guys got into the s'more thing. There were some summers where I ate many s'mores, so maybe I ate too many s'mores. I don't know, but so glad you guys are sharing all your summer fun. Mario Lopez says it's too hot.
In Portugal, it would be, yeah. Portugal is
Woo.
brutal.
Well, Mario, I hope you possibly live near a pool or near the ocean or some area of water where you can take a dip out there and cool down, Mario. And and Retro Nerd Girl says thanks. Of course.
Well deserved. It's one of my favorite channels. Yeah, I tend to agree with most of what Retro Nerd Girls takes are. I suppose that's part of the attraction. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. And 6 years is such a massive achievement. To have the grit and the determination to bite down on the mouthpiece and just keep going. Because when you listen to YouTubers, successful YouTubers talking, all of them say it takes absolutely ages, and you just got to keep going and going and going to reach any level of success. So really, kudos to you.
Absolutely, Retro Nerd Girl. And congratulations for that as well. Mario says it's 35 degrees Celsius, which is like a bazillion degrees. Like that's
Mm,
almost that's almost 100 degrees, isn't it,
yeah,
Russ?
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Wow, that is hot, Mario. I sure hope you're near the AC or a fan or enjoying some kind of breeze where you are staying cool. Um, and Dennis says, is Wimbledon done? I thought I saw some doubles matches yesterday.
yeah. Well, it'd be
Um,
the men's final today, I think. So what time is it? 20 to 4. It depends, Dennis. If it's an epic battle, then no, it's probably still going on.
well,
But
if
I
anybody,
haven't seen any Wimbledon this year. But I have seen. I've got to give a shout out for this women's Euros football taking
yes,
place
yes,
in England at the moment.
yes.
England were successful in their first match, winning it 1-0. They play again Monday. I'm going to miss it, unfortunately. I'm travelling up to Bar Harbour to see some friends up there. But come on, England. Let's hope they do well.
Absolutely. Absolutely for that. And Aster for Jaden says, I'm currently in the future. Well, it's nice for you to go
Come
back
back
to
for the future.
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For this show. We really enjoy seeing you. Joker Voice is with us. Joker Voice. Good morning. Hail at Positive Fandom. Well, hello to you, Joker Voice. Joker Voice has his own channel on YouTube. So definitely check out Joker Voice's channel today if you can, guys. Um, and Gary Banjo Sandwich says, I set all, strawberries and
Strawberries
tennis.
and cream. Yeah, it's a
That's
Wimbledon
right.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? It looks like
Mhm.
a tennis racket, but I know it's strawberries and cream. And to TV tennis, I have my strawberries and cream in the refrigerator. I am ready as well. And Dennis Mason says it is 80 degrees in Hollywood. So that is also a nice warm day, a great day to go to the beach or enjoy anything that you like. Keely Chow says, good morning,
Oh, there she is. Hey,
everybody.
Keely,
How are you, Keely Chow? Always a
friend of the
pleasure.
channel.
Absolutely. And Joker Voice says to Keely Chow, roll tide. Yes, roll tide, Keely Chow. Um, Mikey Lito says that 86 is very hot for Maine. It should be cooler, but don't worry, it will be.
Yeah,
And,
if you don't like the weather in Maine, wait 5 minutes. It'll be.
absolutely. I was going to say, if you go hiking and you go up some of the ranges near in Maine, some of the mountain ranges, the temperature will drop for you. So
Mm,
if it's killing you, just go up to those higher elevations. Um, and Joker Voice does say that he's just dropped his latest video on Thor Love and Blunder. Yesterday,
mhm.
as was if it was Bob Chapek. Check them out, folks. Guys, do check it out. Bloodsport 1 is here.
Hey, Bloodsport, best name on the internet. Yes, we are talking about Thor. Um, I've I've got the lowdown on it. Aram's actually being to see it. She's got her own opinions on it. I've had spoilerific content delivered to me, via the drinker and everybody else. Not sure I'm going to rush out to the theater to go and watch it, but yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it. How spoilery it'll be up to our I don't know, but yes, it is a topic of discussion.
Certainly, Darth Plato lets us know, as he rightfully should, that 35 degrees C is 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And thank you, Darth Plato. We do appreciate that. I was just going off the top of my head what it might be. Mikey Lito says the tennis has been fabulous. It's making me look forward to the U.S. Open around Labor Day. Well, Mikey Lito, you and I might have to go to the Open together one of these days. I had no idea that you were a huge tennis fan, but I'm a huge tennis fan, and maybe we should maybe we should venture out. There are some tournaments on the island too that we could go to, but it is so great to find that out about you, Mikey Lito. Certainly am looking forward to more tennis. In fact, I can't get enough. So I watch the tennis channel. And although I don't watch full matches and sit down for 2 or 3 hours, but there was a time where I would, or I would go to the matches. So it's nice to see a fellow tennis fan. Rogue Thinker says, greetings to
Hey, Rogue.
Argun. And Russ, good morning to the chat. Yes. Good morning, guys. And let me see, did I get everybody already? I think
I
I
think
have.
we did. Yes.
Yes. Well, guys, Darth Plato, I love how exact and how perfect your your comments are. As you say, I haven't seen Thor. If it's anything like Ragnarok, then pass. And it's interesting that you brought that up. But Russ, what story would you like to lead with this morning? Because I know that there was certain things that you would like to discuss as well
I think we should
that are
talk
on your
about
list.
Thor, because it's a hot topic at the moment. I don't know how well it's doing, but from the reports that I've heard, to answer Darth Plato's question, yes, it is, but with more of the excesses of Ragnarok and less of the drama. So from the reports that I've heard, and bear in mind I haven't seen it yet, so I'm just going off spoiler reviews. It's the pervasive opinion that I've had is that Taika's sort of been exposed as a bit of a one-trick pony when it comes to these action comedies, and one of the issues with Thor is that it could have had some pathos, but doesn't give itself time to breathe. So that there's a joke every 5 minutes. So and again, I'll probably wait for it to come out on DVD or whatever it is, but it seemingly it's one of those situations where you did kind of need the studio to step in, because the reports are that he's basically, his ego's kind of run away from him in this in this particular production. Like, there's a self-insert character who was pretty funny in Ragnarok. Is his name Cord or Core? That this the rock guy basically, but he's now sort of,
Yes.
yeah, he's a major character in the movie and gets lots of lines, which of course is played by the director. um and it's the one of the themes now. Are we, how much spoilers are we going to talk?
I don't think I'm going to go full on into Thor just now.
Okay,
There are a few things that I wanted to say about it. I wonder if I should say spoilers. Gosh, this is killing
minor
me.
spoilers.
Okay, well then that's still spoilers.
Mm.
Let me just put up a spoiler banner for Thor Love and Thunder. Let me just do that, because at least that way I won't feel like uh I'm going too far.
Mm. Yeah, it's
And
just if
then
I was going to mention, the issue with Jane Foster and why she comes to it. So I don't know if that's spoilery or not. I don't know if they reveal that. Um,
no, no, you make a good point. And so we're not going to go heavy into spoil. It's not going to be. This is not the heavy spoiler show.
mm.
We're not going to do a deep dive into it. I just wanted to mention, guys, that we are going to be talking about some elements of Thor. Maybe I should edit that comment a
No,
bit.
that's fine. I think that makes it clear. What I was going to say is the problem with Taika's approach, is that the one of the plot points is Jane Foster finds out she's got cancer, and that's not a fun topic. There's there is a saying, isn't it? It's about as funny as cancer, and cancer isn't, it's a terrible disease. It killed both my parents. It's not something you can really sort of joke about, and that's given no time to breathe at all in this movie. It's kind of like, oh, I've got cancer. Oh no, um, I have to get it sorted out. I'm going to use this thing to sort it out. I'm not going to say what thing that she uses to sort it out, but trying to sort of balance a wacky, goofy comedy, action comedy along that is, I think, a mistake. Also, I've heard that Thor himself is basically the butt of the joke for most of the thing until the end when he sort of steps up and becomes Thor. Um, somebody, and again, not too spoilery, but one of the problems that Disney Marvel seems to have given itself is that um, with the end of the Infinity War, with Endgame and the Infinity Stones being the sort of the most powerful things in the universe, now they're sort of stuck with, well, shit, if we want to carry on with our universe, what are we going to do? And now it seems that everything is more powerful than the Infinity Stones. They were played for a joke in the Loki TV show. Then we had this book in Doctor Strange, which is more powerful, and now we've got this other thing at the end of the rainbow that again, could potentially be more powerful than that. So I've said this all along. Look, it's old news. I'm not the only person to say this, right? They should have stopped at Endgame because how far away we're like 5 years away now. Can you imagine now the anticipation if they'd have stopped after Endgame for a new Guardians of the Galaxy or a new Thor, or a new anything at this point coming from them after a 5 year hiatus, where it would give everybody a little bit of time to breathe and perhaps enable them to make better content, because whatever side you come down on with Marvel, and I've always said this, Marvel make great films. They're entertaining. I'm sure Love and Thunder is entertaining. I've got no doubt about it. But this Phase 4 has not received the accolades that the run up to it had. They've had this unprecedented run of successful movies, and this one is not landing so well critically. You can't say that the films and the TV shows are particularly a failure, perhaps apart from Miss Marvel, which hasn't hit the viewing heights, or Hawkeye hasn't hit the viewing heights. But by and large, Thor's making money. Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness made money. Spider-Man made a lot of money, but that's the only, as far as I know, is the only really great movie out of the current crop. Immortals made some money, but nobody talks about that anymore. So yeah, for me, they should have taken a break. But that's my sort of outside opinion of it. Just reading the comments, and I think, oh my goodness, I think it might have been Darth Plato or Joker Voice said up above that Andre from Midnight's Edge kind of summed it up perfectly, as basically likening Taika Waititi's take on Marvel to Joel Schumacher's take on Batman. And I would say that having seen Ragnarok and hearing what I've heard about Blood and Thunder, that seems to be an accurate take. But that's my outside perspective. You are the one who put your bum in the cinema and watched this. I think Mikey's seen it as well. What did you think? What's your minor review?
Well,
Um,
what I wanted to say is, to answer Bloodsport One's question about the screaming goats. My answer to that would be that they went too far with the comedy. The screaming goats was incredibly annoying. It was not entertaining. I did not find this film, for the most part, an entertaining film, and that, in itself was very disappointing, because um, they went too far with the joking around in the film, and I knew there was going to be trouble with the film for me, because in one of the scenes when Jane is in the hospital, she turns to one of the other characters and says, "Stage 4 cancer. What's that?" Right? And I thought to myself, well, is she joking or is she serious? Like, is she joking with the other character? Is she making a joke about stage 4 cancer? Or is she saying, I don't know what that is? And I'd find it very hard to believe that a research scientist like Jane wouldn't know what stage 4 cancer is and wouldn't know how serious it is. So, I thought to myself, well, they're giving us kind of a mixed message here. I don't think she would joke around about it, especially when it affects her. These screaming goats were this embarrassment that they interjected into the film, along with another group of embarrassing moments that made you feel uncomfortable as you were watching it. Thor goes and saves gods, but then he destroys an ancient temple that looked like you couldn't replace it. He couldn't seem to do anything right. There's a scene where Thor here's what's that guy's name from Guardians of the Galaxy? It's not Starlight.
Star Lord,
Star Lord.
Peter
And
Quill.
Star Lord says, well, this is a moment where you look into a person's eyes that you care about, and it means a lot. And Star Lord kind of, at least they imply from the scene, that he doesn't look into Thor's eyes. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of insulting. You're essentially saying that you don't care about Thor, and Thor is trying to make eye contact with you. Like, what message are you sending in this film? Does anybody care about Thor? Like, does he even matter? And honestly, it was a continuation of the vilification of male characters,
Oh
in a
no,
sense.
really? Because
Well, I
I
think it
heard
is.
that one of the reviews I was saying there is no, or there's very little of Thor messing up and having to be saved by Valkyrie or Jane or anything like that. It's kind of like he's a bit of a uh, he's the butt of a joke, but it's not a full on rah rah girl power. We're better in the way that Ragnarok was. But I again, what do you think?
Well, I just don't believe that he as a character was valued, because we knew that there was this nude scene that didn't need to be in the film, and
Hmm.
so we end up with this nude scene. And you know for any other character in the world to be put in that position, being nude against your will in front of a crowd of people, like you're on parade or like you're on show,
Mm,
is would be considered degrading.
mm.
He's got these restraints on him, and then of course the context changed a little bit as he was in the film. But the reality is, Russ, that they chose to show this man, this beautiful man, with his bare ass. And when I saw his bare ass, like my heart skipped a beat. He looked incredible.
Hmm.
And then they showed him for a good portion of the time with his from the waist up, and you could actually see like Chris Hemsworth breathing, like. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy, it's like he was real. Of course he's
Hmm.
real, but I wasn't expecting to be this super close to him like this. And I thought to myself, what the hell does this have to do with Thor? Like,
Yeah.
what am I watching? This has nothing to do with Thor. I didn't even think about Thor. I was not thinking about Thor from that scene. And it took about maybe 15 minutes for me to get back on track and say, oh, yeah, this is about Thor. It's not about this incredibly hot nude man, but it
Hmm.
was they're objectified him. And it could have been where he was fighting and he got blood on him and he had to go in some holy pool or something, wherever the gods bathed, in order to heal. And he could have had a scene like that, or it could have been a scene where he sees Jane, and then they remember an intimate moment together, and they're together, and it's kind of like an intimate love scene. Let us see him like that. And so I thought to myself, he's even the butt of the joke, or kind of like,
Literally.
when he's nude, that it even becomes a joke then. So as you follow the story, there are all these situations where he's just not taken seriously. It's not until like maybe 90% of the film where you get a situation where he is, kind of being responsible. But even in the responsible parts, if people kind of criticize some of the actions that he did, I understand that. But now we have to take him seriously at the end, as you said, and it creates a problem because you've been seeing all these sort of like not so nice looking renditions of him. And there's even a scene where Jane reunites with Thor, and she says, they're like, oh, well, how long has it been? And from the trailer they made it sound like she didn't really care how long it had been. She's like, I don't know, like 3 years, whatever. But
Hmm.
in actuality, in the film, they want you to care about Jane and his relationship. That's the love. But you don't feel the love. There's no feeling of love in this film. I don't think that she has chemistry with him on the
Mm.
screen, and the script didn't convince us of this, and this wasn't a joke. Like, this was serious. So it should have been like when you see a lover that you haven't seen for a long time, that first time that your eyes meet. And of course, the first thing you're thinking about is when you were making love to them. We see it in the movies, like two people haven't seen each other for years, and then there's a flashback to them, being intimate, and it's true, it was during a fight scene, but my goodness, I'm sure that's what they were thinking, but you couldn't feel that intimate connection between the two of them, and it failed. It's Thor love and thunder. So the love
Yes.
precedes the thunder part. even if the thunder didn't even exist, if this film had absolutely nothing to do with a fighting scene and it was all about Thor and Jane, it failed completely. So, there is that. And the other thing too is that there are children in this film, kids who are probably about 9, 10 years old, and they take kind of a front and center stage role in one of the major arcs in the story. And so with something like that, when you bring these children in there, the implication is that you want children to watch this and get excited about Thor. That's what you want as a director. I
Mm.
put a bunch of kids in there. All of a sudden, they're able to do things they couldn't do. This is very exciting. What a great film. But how do you justify that and have a nude scene of Thor in the film? Like, is this really for children? Did you want them to see Thor nude? Like, this seems odd to have that placement there. And so I realized that the film is kind of like a hodgepodge of placements of different things that just popped into somebody's mind and said, yeah, it'd be fun to see him, save somebody, and then the castle, falls down. Or it'd be cool if she, they saw each other and he says, how long has it been? She's like, oh, 3 years. They're like, no, it's actually been 8 years. Oh, you didn't remember that we've been separated? I'm like, that's not cool. Because if
Mm.
I saw somebody and they couldn't remember how long it had been since I'd seen them, I would have been very upset about it. If I loved them, I'd be like, how could they not remember this? It's
Yeah.
not a good feeling. It's not a feel good. The film was supposed to be a feel good comedy, and it doesn't present itself that way. And I also wanted to thank everybody who sent me super chats. There's a bunch of you who sent me super chats. I'm looking for the list. I haven't forgotten. Martino was very generous. Stubble McShave, another guy by the name of Springley, I think that's his last name. Thank you all for the generous super chats that you've sent me on Stream Elements. I finally figured out how to retrieve the super chats.
Mm.
It took me 2 weeks. And thank you for that. And I also wanted to mention, before we continue to talk about this, hi, Shalon Ja. It's so good to see you here
Oh, hello.
on Sunday brunch on Positive Fandom. And he or she, I don't know if it's a man or woman, mentions that they're waiting for my Jadha Akbar discussion on Positive Fandom on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Lorena Creole is going to be joining me for this discussion. So it's going to be a great it's the summer of Indian cinema on Positive Fandom. So we are going to be doing a review there and many more films. So do check it out. And please subscribe to Positive Fandom, everybody. Now, Darth Plato talks about some of these other characters that unfortunately, I mean, honestly, Russ, Christian Bale is in this film. He's an Academy Award winner. He
Hmm.
was in that film, where he was a child and trapped, I think it was in Japan.
Oh, Empire of the Sun.
He was in Empire of the Sun. That was not an easy film to act in. He was
Mhm.
just a child when he did that role,
Yeah, he
and
was
he carried
Batman as
that
well, wasn't
film.
he?
Yes, but I guess what I'm trying to say, yes, he was in Batman, and he was great in that too. But this is an actor who, if you get this actor to be in one of your films, you want to monopolize on his talents. And
Hmm.
honestly, if the film had been mostly about him, I would have been fine if we learned a new story, learned about that character. I don't know if this has anything to do with Darth Plato's comment,
Hmm.
but
A Korg, yeah, Korg is a golem. I think he is. I'm not sure, Darth. Like I saw him in Ragnarok, and he was amusing. He was amusing in Ragnarok, but apparently now, he's there for too much. Mikey says it's okay, an okay 2 hours. If I had a problem with that, I would say it's episodic. This is one of the things I was going to ask actually. Um, do you think that this film was maybe cut a little bit too harshly? That perhaps there's a 3 hour cut of this movie that might make it a better film? Did it seem to be a little bit disjointed with the sort of like, oh my god, you've got stage 4 cancer, which I think Rogue or Joker Voice was pointing out earlier on, that's probably a bit of exposition as to why she says, "Oh, what's that?" So the audience will understand what it is. But we go from that to a joke, and then we try to go from something heavy to a joke, and maybe there's extra bits in there because I am not a fan of Taika Waititi. I don't enjoy his stuff particularly, but because I'm not a fan doesn't mean that I can't say he's a really good director. He really seems to be, and for this film to be so tonally out of whack with everything else, and to be a sort of big chuckle fest, I can't imagine even with his excesses that it would be as bad as we're hearing. So do you reckon that there's some stuff missing there?
I think that they need to scrap this film and start over.
Hmm.
I think that fundamentally, trying to tell these arcs, none of them have succeeded. The only thing that was exciting is that there's I guess, a confrontation and something that I thought was going to happen in this film, because there is a point, of course, we saw it in the trailer. Thor goes to Zeus. That's in the trailer. That's not a surprise. It was already revealed that that's what he's doing. And I thought there would be some kind of confrontation between Zeus and Thor, like
Yeah.
a fight, a physical fight, only to find out that it is going to lead to some other kind of story regarding that. But I got excited when I saw that, because I thought that's what it was. But honestly, that scene, it is true that Thor obtained something from from Zeus, but the scene was solely for the purpose of exposing the character Thor, who, even nude, didn't feel weak. He wasn't weak.
Hmm.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. However, not that important for me to even say that a character is strong even when he's nude. That's so absurd. Isn't it correct?
Hmm.
Isn't it? Like, isn't that absurd to say? That
No,
has
not
nothing
not
to do with
really.
the MCU. Like, well, nude, this character is equally strong. Like, it's silly. Like,
Hmm.
this doesn't even make any sense from a theatrical point of view. And if this was, Thor's one man show where he exposes himself and rips his clothes off after a one man show, that's great. But this, it wasn't. This was, I just,
It was just nudity for nudity's sake, and if we're getting back to the cinema of nudity for nudity's sake, I'm down for that, and I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are too. Um, but we missed some comments earlier on. I just that sort of stuck in my mind. I think it was
yes.
Joker Voice was saying that Doctor Strange lost money, and Spider-Man No Way Home was. Was a Sony movie, so I think that there must have been a profit split with Marvel in there. I'm sure, but this is what we were alluding to at the beginning, or we were stating at the beginning, I guess. With the drop in quality of Phase Four, um, are we seeing Marvel now on a downward trend? Is It's difficult to say because we kind of exist in this fan sphere where things like Kenobi, being good or not good, and things like Thor being good or not good are like really, really important to us. Is this message now starting to seep through to the general audience? Are people as excited outside the fan bubble for the next, for the next big Marvel thing? I'm getting a feeling that if and I'm sure Jug Voice is correct in what he says. If Doctor Strange has lost money, this one is projected to make less, he says, than Doctor Strange. Well, then if general audiences are starting to get bored with it, then you know, are we in a place now where superhero movies will become less and less, or do we think Marvel will just keep pushing forward and come up with thing after thing? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to answer that question in 1 second. I do want to go through some of these comments, and guys, I've fallen behind on the comments here.
Mm,
Terry says Thor: Love and Thunder falls hard where Ragnarok succeeded. A tightrope balance between very dark themes and stupid gags.
mm.
In total, making Thor seem like a blend between a hero and a moron. And I don't think I could have said that any better.
That's brilliant, Toja.
Period.
Yeah, you've pretty much summed it up. I think that's perfect.
Joker Voice says Love and Blunder is a mess. Russ, you're correct. Joke after joke after joke. No connection to the larger MCU. It's a mess. Now, Dennis says Jane Foster's hairdresser in every frame. She did have great hair in this film. Um, they made her look good. And, I think they could have given
Well, you'd
Natalie.
struggle to make Natalie Portman look bad, wouldn't you? I mean, I hate to bring it down. Well, I don't hate to bring it down to that. She is a stunningly beautiful woman, but also an amazing actress. Like
Yes.
she has the chops. She's been doing this since she was a child, obviously, but she's great.
And honestly, she deserved better than this. I think they could have given her some serious lines. Let her get all nerdy. Let her be nerdy. If this is her final swan song,
Mm.
let her be nerdy AF. Let her talk about what's happening with the universe and how she could have been the person who revealed the direction that the MCU is going in. That
Yeah.
she noticed fluctuations were happening, and this research is really important because we need to continue this, so that there's stability in our galaxy or some crap like that. They could have made her the character that reveals some of the future of the MCU, but that was wasted because all they wanted to focus on was, her unfortunate health diagnosis and her newfound ability, as Mjolnir is bound to
Mm.
her because of Thor. And Bloodsport One says the Rock dude stole the show.
Yeah,
I
because
have to be honest
that's
with
why
you.
Waititi's character, isn't it? So this is what some of the criticism as I said earlier on, some of the criticism that's been leveled at this is like, okay, Taika, we get it. You love yourself, but he's just in it too much for a character that doesn't really push the plot forward. He's just kind of there, making
It was an
jokes.
embarrassment,
Hmm.
Russ. It was an embarrassment, and any writer would have written out that character and put that character in, the children's hour, which is where it belonged. It didn't
Mm.
belong. It wasn't a heavy, in my opinion, to learn how the rocks replicate themselves. And he even could have used that character to explain how important, where the MCU is going, and what the repercussions are, and why are things being interpreted. There could have been so much revealed, and we didn't get that. Joker Boy says he's done a light spoiler review as well, so check that out, guys. And Dennis Mason makes a good point that in the comics, Jane Foster's story is well done. Guys, they can't even plagiarize or copy stuff right. You copy the good stuff. You don't take the crap. As I said last night, if you're going to go ahead and borrow something or be inspired by something, you're inspired by the best things in it. Take the best. Guys, if you're going to be inspired by another story, if you're saying, gee, I really want to do this because when I saw that Thor, Love and Thunder, I was inspired to do this. Take the best of it. Don't take
Mm.
the worst. Mark Goes Blind Gaming says, hi all. Hey, hi
Hey.
Mark. Nice to see you this morning. Joker Voice says that's accurate with the Mighty Thor storyline from the comics, a comic that was a commercial failure. Oh, I didn't know that. And also, let's see, what else do we have here? Bloodsport says, seems like the meme was funny once a few years ago. I'm over screaming goats. It was embarrassing. Russ, I wanted to throw my popcorn bucket at the screen.
Well,
They
that's
had
not good,
these
RM.
screaming goats that, for a little while it could have been funny, and then, but they didn't have to continue through the whole film. And it was a real Jar Jar Banks moment
Hmm.
where that character could have gone a lot of different ways. But when you have a character that's different and unusual, and then it's dominant for a good portion of the film, it's not enjoyable necessarily.
Well, I think, it's kind of, as we know, big studios are notoriously risk averse. Okay. So with Thor Ragnarok, that was a successful movie, I believe. And they sort of hit on this thing. Oh, well, Taika and Thor, that's a great way to go. And we'll go with Taika. Hey, Tom, the man, the legend.
Hi
We'll
Tom,
go
we
with
are all
Taika
good
for the
people. Good
next
morning
movie.
to you.
Um, but thinking about what happens in Thor: Love and Thunder, we have this character Gore who becomes the God Slayer, the God Killer. His story is that his child, dies, and the gods laugh, and then that's his sort of strong motivation. So the villain actually has, Christian Bale, who's a superlative actor, as we know, has this tragic story. So we've got a tragic villain. We have Thor, that's now we find out the love of his life is now, terminally ill, and so on and so on. These are dark themes. And if you look back at the first Thor movie, which was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who's one of our finest actors from the United Kingdom, acting genius, and a brilliant director, had that sort of Shakespearean feel to it. And I rather feel that maybe in a different director's hands, the theme of this, the way that this movie was handled, we could have had something really, really epic. I believe that the Guardians are sort of dealt with fairly early in the film. So the Guardian, yes, you have some funny bits with them, but then they go, and then you have this pretty Shakespearean story if you think about it. Villain, tragic villain, hero dealing with loss. Because if you think about Thor, actually, if this is the case with Jane, so she's no a love of his life. His brother, he lost. His father, he lost. His mother, he lost. And he is nominally in charge of Asgard. This is heavy stuff. But instead of that, we've got a yuck, 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 yuck director, making light of all of this. And I guess if I could turn back time and have a word with Kevin Feige, I'd say, well, maybe you want to go back to Branagh for this kind of story that's dealing with these heavy issues. But we have more chats.
Definitely. And Branagh just won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, right? Isn't that what he won
I think so.
for
Yeah, for
for
was it
Belfast?
Belfast? Yeah, semi autobiographical story because he's from Northern Ireland. You wouldn't know it from his accent, but yeah.
Absolutely. It is pretty amazing what Branagh can do. It's not an easy story to tell. And let's say perhaps a good portion of the world is unaware of the Troubles and what the Troubles is or was. I don't know if it's still there, Russ, but the point is that it happened during a very critical and tumultuous time in his life. And he wrote that. He's an excellent actor. He was wonderful as the villain in Harry Potter.
Hmm.
He really is amazing, and I think that suggestion of yours is great. Joker
I
Voice
would
says,
another suggestion for you before you go on to Joker Voice. If you like to see good acting, you can get this now on YouTube. Kenneth Branagh starred, directed, and adapted Henry V
yes.
back in the late 80s or very early 90s. I think it was 1988, 89, that you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, and it is an acting tour de force. It's got so many brilliant. It's a British cast, but the Judy Dench, Kenneth Branagh, oh God, Emma, his wife at the time, I've forgotten her name. I keep wanting to
Is it
say Emma.
Watson? Emma Watson?
No, 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 that's Harry Potter. That's who I'm thinking of, and I can't think of her second name. You got Robbie Coltrane, you've got Richard Bryars, Brian Blessed. You can't go wrong. It's fantastic. But anyway, that's not Thor. That's Henry V.
This is Emma
So
Thompson.
Emma Thompson, thank you.
Okay, and I just watched her in a film called "Good Luck to You, Leo Grand," which was certainly a very unique film. That woman is talented.
Hmm.
So I'll definitely check it out. I love Shakespeare, so I'm going to watch it. Joker Voice says, Russ, Doctor Strange possibly lost money. Spider-Man No Way Home is a Sony film. Well, something, Joker Voice, Doctor Strange Part 2 made a lot of money. But I guess they're saying that it didn't break even or what the story is. They're making another one. And I think that if this movie, if Ragnarok, if Thor Love and Thunder makes a certain amount of money, they're going to go ahead and make another one. Will it be with Taika Waititi? I don't think so. I think that the response to the film, the reception to the film has shaken so many people that the studio will be fearful to hire him again to do any kind of project. But that's kind of my prediction of it. Russ, do you think they're going to use Taika Waititi for another Marvel or even for a Star Wars project?
It's oh God, I mean, talk about flogging a dead horse, and like adding insult to injury. That man in charge of Star Wars, please no, please just uh, I can't imagine that would just everything to do with Star Wars seems to upset me actually, but that would be like a slap in the face. To your other point, I don't know how well this film is being received. I can see amongst fandom, um, it's not been well received. Like people seem to be quite disappointed with what it is, but the world that we live in is a strange one when it comes to critical and fan reception of movies because you've got the Rotten Tomatoes or Rotten Tomatoes barometer of how good things are, and it seems to be whatever side of the argument you're on these days, you're accusing the other side of review bombing it. So, for example, we had Kenobi recently that just got absolutely eviscerated by pretty much anybody who watched the show because it was shit. But it's got this massive sort of high critical rating saying it's the greatest thing ever. And really, just from my own straw poll of one, when I scroll through Facebook, because I'm old and I still have Facebook, apparently that makes me what am I, a Generation Xer? My daughter mocks me for this. But when I scroll through and I see things like CBR, comic book resources, I think it is, Screen Rant, Movie Rant, and any other media outlet, a mainstream media outlet for nerds, you know, why Kenobi is the greatest show ever, why this is the best performance ever, why Reva is the greatest character ever, why this show deserves, 5 seasons, why it's so awesome. And you sort of seeing the same thing with now with uh, Blood and Thunder, Love and Thunder. Why this is the greatest Thor film ever, why this is, and it's like, and you have this sort of stream of comments going, well, no, this was shit, and I don't know. It's getting back to your point. Is it being well received? Well, critically, you'd have to say yes, because these magazines and the empires and the screen rants of this world are saying, that the sun shines out of Taika's bottom, and if we don't like it, then we're wrong, and on the wrong side of history and all the rest of it. But when you look at the fan voices that are responding to this, people are going, no, this is a pile of hot garbage, in the same way that Obi-Wan was. So it's all kind of smoke and mirrors, really.
And we have BC, aka the New Dark Shadow. Hello to you, and welcome to
Hey,
to Sunday brunch. We certainly
I don't think
do.
we've seen BC, aka the New Dark Shadow, before. Is that a new person? If so, hello. Please subscribe to RM's channel. I know I hate to get it in there, but we're nearly at 1,000. We're getting there, so this will be great.
Thank you, Russ. Yes, Positive Fandom. I need 1,000 subscribers, so please do subscribe if you haven't already. Joker Voice says that the box office predictions has Thor 20% behind Strange. Wow.
Mm,
And Mikey Lito says she was joking with Darcy, meaning Jane.
mm,
And Joker Voice goes on to say, stage 4 cancer, out of how many stages? Answer is 4.
yeah.
Honestly, as a research scientist, I think Jane would know that there are 4 stages. So that for me was not a believable, let's say a line. It just
Yeah, I just
wasn't
think it was someone
believable.
pointed out. I think it might have been Joker Voice pointed out. It's probably just exposition, just in case.
Yes. And Bloodsport 1 says, the MCU mess up with beating Thanos. They messed up with beating Thanos. Infinity War should have been 2 movies with Thanos and the Black Order beating the heroes. Endgames should had another big villain instead of Thanos. I think you have a really good point, Bloodsport 1.
It's
And I would have watched it if it was 2 or 3 or 4 extra films to get that story there. Certainly, I would have watched it.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. I think, but even so, I will stick to my guns on this. I regardless of what they did with that, they still should have stopped at the climax of that story, where you retire Steve. Tony makes his sacrifice. That's it's called Endgame. Stop. Just whoa. Okay, that was a huge 10-year or 12-year run of massive, unprecedented critical and commercial success. We have hit upon a winning formula, but how much more milk is left in this cow? What are people looking at now? What do people want now? We've heard a lot of people in the YouTube sphere talk about Marvel fatigue, and I've mentioned this myself. When I compare it to my beloved Man of Steel, and was that a movie ahead of its time? Maybe Marvel could again have stolen a march on Warner's and said, okay, we're going to stop this now. We need to refresh what we're doing, refresh our ideas, but they haven't. They've sort of pushed on, but then they tried something different with the Eternals, and that wasn't great. So I don't know. Anyway,
well,
what's BC saying?
BC says, sorry, I didn't see Thor Love and Thunder because I didn't want to waste my time in a theater being lectured or preached at by a narcissistic, spoiled rich kid telling me how to live my life. Well, you know something? You won't be preached at anything. There's no message to this film. Like, it
Mm.
doesn't relate anything significant. So you just would have sat there. You wouldn't have been preached at. It just would have been, you would have been bored, BC. I'm just going to let you know. Darth Plato says that was, they did that as a device to the audience to explain what stage 4 means. It feels like A Few Good Men, where the other cast were explaining what Zulu time meant to Tom Cruise.
Hmm.
And Joker Voice says, it's not hugely an MCU film, but the story is focused on Jane. When you find out the reasoning of the name Love and Thunder, honestly, Joker Voice, the love between Jane and Thor, just it probably was a bad relationship. That's how, if I were Thor's friend, I would just tell him, like, maybe this wasn't the best relationship for you guys. And I can't even believe I'm saying that. We want romances to be good. We don't want bad ones. And This wasn't a great one. Dennis Mason says, "Oh, I just want to say, Marcos Blind Gleaming says, I don't know about the rest of the of you, but I'm all for nudity in film movies. And that was one of the points that I made. Mark Goes Blind Gaming. You have all of these children in the story that take center stage, and then there's a new character that they have to talk to on a regular basis.
Hmm.
So, it was very odd placement. How do you explain this to your children that this character is nude and you just got to see the character's bare ass? Like, how do you explain that to your kids? Dennis Mason says, I'm here for Naked Jane. I would
Well, I
have
think
watched that
we
too.
all would be.
Yeah, I would watch that. But it's, you know what it is, Mikey Lito? It was the way that they did it. He could have been in a bed and nude, and I would have been fine with that. But to have him restrained out there and just kind of exposed like that, it didn't seem right. I don't think Thor would have exposed himself like that. I would have liked to have seen him, like in the training montage, even if he was more exposed in that, which they did do, and they showed his physique, with sweat pouring off of him as he's lifting up, whole ships and giant,
Well, steady
boulders.
on our room. All right, your imagination's starting to run away with you now as we're getting into these scenarios. Not that I have a leg to stand on because I've been going through a bit of an exploitation movie run at the moment from the 60s and 70s. So I'm not one to talk.
And yes, Mikey Lito, Rob did a show last night, and we did talk about this. So certainly do check it out, Mikey Lito. Rogue Thinker says it seems like they have to degrade Thor, but they don't overshadow or replace him with the females. After the fat basement dwelling gamer crybaby, he was an Endgame. It seems like an improvement. It is an improvement. Of course, it's an improvement, and that's what the nude scene might be about. Isn't this so much better how he looks now than he did before? We have to show you him nude.
Mm.
Maybe Zakarat 315 is here. Hi, Zakarat
Hey, Zachariah.
315. It's so nice to see you. Retro Nerd Girl says the new MCU movies seem to lack a cohesive tone. Compare Thor Love and Thunder to the Eternals. Sadly, none of these films feel connected anymore, which made it essential. See them all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I couldn't agree more. That's a really incisive comment. I think pre-end game and all the way up until end game, you had to watch it. And you had to kind of seen all of them, and they sort of banked on you having seen all of them and knowing what's going on. I think there was a little bit of a reliance, a tiny bit of reliance at one phase on having seen Agents of Shield, although it wasn't detrimental if you hadn't. But there was certain stuff they called in from Agents of Shield into the movies, right, with Nick Fury and so on and so forth. But now with this new phase 4, um, there isn't that. Retro No is absolutely right. So nobody is now rushing to the cinema to find out the next installment. The movies are kind of disconnected but connected in the same way, actually, that the DC universe has gone, and everybody cites the DCEU, rightly so, for being a complete mess. So Marvel now seems to be getting itself into that mess all by itself. These are not decisions that, um, we know why DC or Warner's made their particular decisions, but Marvel just seems to be the wheels are coming off. That's what it would seem like to me.
Yes, and Marco's Blind Gaming says when I saw his hot bottom, it made me wish I was part of the Rainbow Nation. Haha. Seriously though, I enjoy seeing beautiful people unclothed. But isn't this meant to be a family friendly movie? And I just feel terrible of the woman or man who's taking their kids to see this film and they don't know that that nude scene is in the film,
It's quite
guys.
strange, actually. Or I think this might be a sort of cultural thing because I don't think any family in the UK, or in my experience, I can't speak for the entirety of the UK. I don't think would anybody be sort of freaked out by seeing Thor's bum. I don't think that would be a thing. So that might be a cultural thing. I don't know. Certainly, they wouldn't in New Zealand or in the Anglosphere, dare I say. So England, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. That wouldn't be a big deal for us. I don't think. But it seems to have really sparked something with you now here and Mikey and the rest of it.
Well, I really did have to question in a sense just that if if children was the main focus of this film, they want to have children as fans because they did something very specific in the film that focuses on children. And so we end
But
up,
then they have it about cancer, you know, and someone having lost their child and all this
yes,
stuff. So you can't have both, can you? Well, maybe you
no.
can, but maybe in the hands of a different director, perhaps you can. But yeah, anyway, we move on because we've got a few of these. We've really engaged the chat, which is brilliant. This is what this show's all about. It's so
I
brilliant to hear your points of view, guys. Seriously.
Absolutely. And Michael Ito, I agree. I thought that was a counterpoint. Rogue Thinker comparing his body image now to the way he was the last time we saw him. Yes. And it was an enjoyable scene. I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy it. And Helmsworth should be very proud of his physique and what he's worked to accomplish and maintain. It certainly was something that was amazing. I think his brother was also in the film too.
Mm,
Um, Joker Voice says Gore's origin scene at the beginning, one of the two scenes that actually was allowed to breathe and have some weight. Christian Bale was criminally underused in this film. I agree. As we said, and we share that opinion. They did Zeus dirty in this film. Um, yeah. And we have another person joining us, Mighty Orbits. Hello, Mighty Orbots.
mhm.
Mighty Orbots. And of course, the girl gets the big axe while Thor gets the little hammer. I think the hammer or whatever actually isn't the other way around. Um, I think I'm not quite sure who gets what. I thought Thor got the axe or he made the axe. It looks bigger than the hammer, but I hear what you're saying, Mighty Orbots. There is a
And
lot of
welcome.
exchange. Yes, welcome. There's actually a lot of power being thrown around from Thor to other people in this film, which is something that I wasn't expecting, and I was like, wow. So even I was a little surprised to see that, but I knew that that was not that was someone else's plan of the film and not the person who added the jokes to the film, at least in my opinion. Rogue Thinker says Kane has always been a terrible character in the MCU. I never enjoyed the writing or performance of that character. Is it any better in Thor: Love and Thunder? Sadly, in my opinion, she's not well written, and she didn't get what she should have gotten. Let's say as a character, Natalie Portman could have done so much with this. Like I said, my
Look at the
fantasy.
cast: Russell Crowe, Natalie Portman, Christian Bale. I mean, holy smoke, man! Come on, you know these are Oscar winners. You know, It's-
Absolutely. And I honestly think that what we could have seen would have been to, if she's a scientist, then let her be nerdy.
Mm.
Let's have that. I mean, my goodness. I do see that she can pick up the hammer, but she's also an intelligent person as well. Um, also, Bloodsport One says Gore the God Butcher who kidnaps kids and raised Dark Masters I who
Who did
did, I
nothing?
guess, nothing. Yeah. There was a lot of the power for Gore the God Butcher that we didn't see.
Hmm.
So and Tom Jr. Jackson says, looking back, it was a fun movie and emotional twist to it. And it was also like a road trip movie. Well, a cosmic road trip movie.
Well, you
And thank you
enjoyed
for
it, man.
sharing that, Tom. Yeah, we're happy that you enjoyed it for sure. Um, Also, let's see. Uh, Tom, is this Tom again? From what people are telling me, there is a 4-hour version of this film somewhere. I would watch it.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. You know, is there a better movie somewhere in here? Because from the reports that I've heard, as I say, it seems to have been butchered.
Excuse me. Yes, and I'm sorry for clearing my throat there. Um, and Tom Jr. Jackson says, yes, guys, you can send me a tip on Stream Elements. And thank you for those of you who have sent me tips. I so appreciate it, as I mentioned before. Um, Stubble and Martino, as well as Springley. I didn't want to say his full name because I wasn't sure if he had used another name, but thank you for the tips. It's so generous, and we do appreciate it. And it does help here at Positive Fandom. Rogue Thinker says, seems okay, but I would rather it be well written character with some charisma or chemistry with the other characters. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. I think we're seeing a lot of characters that just aren't really making the mark. But there's been so much build up to this particular movie, and the particular trailer that they used. I'm not happy of the trailer they used because there's a lot in it that didn't really reflect how the film was going to go. I mean, they gave you a general taste of things, but they deliberately put the nude scene in it. So, they wanted you to know he was nude.
Hmm.
Um, they could have just shown you the part where he didn't have anything on from the chest up, but they chose to show you in the trailer his backside and blur out his his backside more or less. So, you have to also wonder about that at least. At least I thought about that, and I said the tone of the trailer is not exactly what we got in the movie.
Look, if I had a backside like Chris Hemsworth, I'd be wearing the 1980s Blackie Lawless buttless chaps everywhere I went. You know what I'm saying? I'd have been there. It's a magnificent bottom, I'm sure.
Yes, and Joker Voice says Marvel has 31 projects slated for the next 24 months. They are not slowing down. Disney has to feed Disney with content, Disney Plus. That's all Marvel and Star Wars is now, content.
Yeah, we touched on this last week before last when we were woeing about Kenobi. But during an offline discussion, Joker, Aram and I sort of discussed this. We were talking about The Mandalorian. And Aram, if you don't mind me saying, Aram says, it's not a great show. It's not a 10 out of 10 magnificent, brilliant show, but it is an 8, 8.5. And I said, oh, yeah, 8.5. That sounds fair enough. But when you're talking about things being content, when you look at the massive plot holes that were in Kenobi, like they're just the really stupid, dumb things that were not in the Mandalorian. Stuff like the girl under the coat, and what was Reva doing, and why did she know that? All that stuff. Mandalorian isn't written like that. Mandalorian might not be the greatest. It's not The Wire. It's not 24. It's not the best thing ever written, but it makes sense. And you make a brilliant point. It is just content. And I know all these things that we say are kind of cliche and it is just content. But yeah, that's what they're churning out now. And it's like, oh no, as the drinker would say, it'll be fine. And it's not fine, I don't think. But anyway, we move on. Louis.
Yes, Louis Livitz, welcome to us, the Sunday brunch. We're happy to have you here. Lewis says this wasn't a phase 4 film. It was just an additional chapter for the Thor character. I don't understand why Thor keeps losing IQ points in this film. Jane and Gore and Eternity are the highlights. Well, that's interesting comments. And Mario Lopez says Phase 4 is so bad to me that I don't care. You guys spoiled the
Do
movie.
you know what, Maria? This is it. I haven't actually seen it. I've just been going off spoiler reviews of people that I trust. But normally and mainly the drinker. I find Az and Gary are a bit too extreme, in their viewpoints for me. But I do trust what the drinkers had to say. And he did a big live stream about this with this brew as and Mauler, and that's by and large where I'm getting my information from. But yeah, I don't care. That's the thing. Even with the earlier Marvel stuff, although I'm not a huge fan, I wanted to see it. I care. Oh yeah, I know what's going to happen next. Now I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. And Mario goes on to say, and I did not see last week's show because I haven't seen Stranger Things at the time. Well, I hope you've seen it now, man, because I was a little bit concerned before last week's show because as we started talking to it, we started to lose viewers because um, people hadn't seen it, and Aram and I were had gone through the whole thing, and I was addicted to it. It was fantastic, and I thought, you know what, this show isn't going to go on long. I mean, how long can two people, without you guys sort of feeding in, how long can we went on about how great it was for 2 hours. Just the pair of us going, oh yeah, and you remember that bit? Oh, do you remember this bit? Oh, do you remember that bit? So yeah, I hope you have seen it because it is excellent.
Yes, it is. And certainly, Mario, thank you for sharing that with us. And Tom Jr. Jackson says he thought that this was the best Thor movie so far.
You may be in a minority there, Tom. I think many people were disappointed with it, and as Mario was just saying, you can't be asked. I can't be asked. I'll wait for it on DVD or whatever. But yeah, it's just because it's not receiving great praise, just because it might not be the best Thor movie in everybody else's opinion. As long as you liked it, that's the main thing.
And
I
that
can,
makes us happy that you liked it,
yeah,
Tom.
I can reflect this back. For my biases. The big shock is I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan. I love his take on the DCEU. I like it. And if other people don't, that's up to them. But I loved it, and people not liking it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of it. So we can sit here giving it a pasting, but if you enjoyed it, that's the most important thing. And I say that, I really
Absolutely.
mean that. I really mean that as well.
Yes. And as for me, as poor as the script was, Hemsworth did shine in the film. Like he
Hmm.
just shines. He's like the sun with beams radiating off of this guy.
He is.
His smile, and there are some scenes where he's just standing there, and I like him in the leather outfit, the leather armor rather than the colorful one.
Hmm.
I like the leather one, and you could see his arm kind of like sticking out of the outfit, and I was just like, oh my god, this guy is Thor. Like he does feel like a god to me in a
Mm.
sense. I think that he's the perfect person to play this. And despite all of this, I guess I could watch it with the sound off and still kind of enjoy seeing him, run around and do whatever he's doing. He really just alone for me is what I consider what Thor should look like. And as an actor, I think he's just so much on the positive side, on the bright side of things,
Mm.
that it shines through. Even when he smiles, like I'm like, this guy's a pretty good actor, and he's able to relate that on screen, with all the distractions around him. Because usually, like in some galaxy scene with all different types of interesting looking creatures or something like a spaceship, and you can kind of focus in on him.
Mm.
Which I'd say he's able to accomplish, despite them making a joke about him, the palace being, falling down. I thought to myself, it's going to fall, isn't it? And it did. But I'm like, you know what? It's okay.
Mm.
So there is that about him. And I think that for him, as an actor, it's a triumph to be able to say that he can command that level of presence.
He has that thing. We've spoken about this before on this channel many times. Um, some people just have the X factor, and that's your job as a director slash casting director, is to spot these people. I mean, Chris Hemsworth was not as buff as he is now when he walked into that interview, but he had that certain something that will make you a star. No matter what you do, you are gonna, people want to look at you, and you capture the screen in a way. I'm always think, even to go back, people like Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee was in some awful movies. I mean, the kung fu movies are not brilliantly plotted, and the dubbing and all of that stuff. But there's something about him that just captures the screen in the way that you had a million different kung fu movies at that time, but he was the one. He was the special one. And Hemsworth is the same. Cavill is the same. There we go.
So
What
I
is
just wanted
this?
to show the popcorn bucket. It was expensive, but I
Mhm.
still like this popcorn
Yeah,
bucket.
and you were going to throw that at the screen.
I was going to, because I was like, what is this? Why is that happening? But it's okay. I'm fine. It's all right. And they also gave like a little promotional poster. I guess if I ever see Hemsworth, I'll have him sign this
Hmm.
poster. I'll have
Yeah,
him
it's a good
sign it.
poster.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have him sign that. And if I
I
should
like
ever meet
I like
him
the
at a
rainbow thing coming down. It looks like the poster for the first Star Trek movie, Star
it
Trek the motion
does.
picture. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think Molinear or the axe, when he
Hmm.
uses it, makes kind of
Stormbringer or something.
exactly, it makes that kind of design in the galaxy, or it looks like a thing that they're walking on, which looks really cool. And I know someone knows the name of it. So yes, Darth Plato, it was expensive. It was expensive, and I knew I was going to buy it because Chris Hemsworth is in this film. Um, now, I also wanted to say that you know, uh,
Just to say before you say that, Latoya T just dropped in to say hello. So
oh,
hello, Latoya T. She's down here a little bit
hi.
while we're getting through these, but I did see her pop up, so I just wanted to say hi.
Yes, yes. And Tom Jr. Jackson, Latoya T. Guys, please do check out Coco Tulip, Latoya T's wonderful fashion line. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Do check it out. Coco Tulip, Latoya T's original designs. Certainly do check out her work there. Um, and Tom Jr. Jackson says, why do people have problems with women being main characters in a Marvel film? There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't
There,
hear too many people saying that they had a problem with this one. I think that she was a main character. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know people had problems with that. I think sometimes maybe they feel it's not written well enough, but yeah, maybe there are people who have a problem with it. But
Maybe there are, but I
um,
think to Tom's point here are I think the problem that people have with it, if you like, is great. If you want to make a female Thor movie, make a female Thor movie. If you want to make a show about Reva, make a show about Reva. But the Marvel tactic, and it's a successful tactic, or the Disney tactic, I should say, is no, we're going to call the show Kenobi, and we're going to make the show Reva. We're going to make this, yeah, we're going to call the film Thor, but it's going to be this, it's going to be a different story. Now this is not the case with Blood and Thunder, Love and Thunder, to be fair, but certainly with Ragnarok it was a Valkyrie story with kind of Thor in it, dicking around and fighting the Hulk and stuff like that. I think that's more to the point. I know those aren't particularly great examples. The Kenobi one serves better for that. I think that's what people have a problem with, co-opting a character, especially established characters, not to tell a Kenobi story, but to tell the story that you want to tell whilst putting Kenobi's shirt on it. That's more to the point. But no, look, all the stuff that I write myself is female oriented. I always, I've only ever written one thing, I think, with a male lead in it. So I'm all for it. I'm down with that entirely. But I wouldn't co-opt Superman to make a Power Girl movie. I'd make a Power Girl movie and maybe have Superman as a background character, but the movie would be called Power Girl because I love Power Girl. She's my favorite.
yeah, you make a good point, Russ. And thank you for sharing that. And guys, do please check out Russ's wonderful work. He is a published author. Check out his
Thanks.
novels on his website. You can find it at russellwhitfield.com, his Gladiatrix series. So
Thank you.
please do check that out. It is female orientated. Way before people were doing stuff like this. So if you're looking for the way it should be done, certainly do buy his books. Tom Jr. Jackson says, "Are you on Twitch? Follow Positive Fandom on Twitch." Yes, I'm on Twitch. I stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, guys. So if you're following me on Twitch, hello. And please subscribe to me on Twitch as well if you use that platform. And also, um, I've heard a lot of people talking about the what's been happening in regards to how much money the box office makes. Mikey Lito talks about these budgets, and they are huge budgets, aren't they? Here it says $200 million budget, 900 million receipts. It is kind of hard to figure this out. Like you have to be a master accountant to figure out if they made money or not. And before it used to be very exact. They could tell you that it made money. I've heard people say that it didn't make money. Regardless, if it made a $900 million in receipts, people went out to see that film, and that's a lot of people going to see the film. So
I think this is a response to what Joker was saying, that his take is that it may have lost money. I don't know where the proof is for that, Mikey. Joker Voice has got his finger on the pulse when it comes to that stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I think the the first weekend of Doctor Strange did really, really well, but then it sort of the graph went downwards because people, these films strangely still rely on word of mouth, although word of mouth is now the internet. People who came out of it saying it's not that great, and you didn't get the repeat viewings. That's my theory, but I couldn't tell you if it made money or not.
yes, and of course, Joker Voice talks about the
Oh,
difference
here we go.
between having to net it and break even. It is complicated. As Rogue Thinker goes on to say, the accounting is far more of a labyrinth than that, and it certainly is. Stubble McShave says, "Hi, gang. Hi,
Hey,
Stubble."
Stubble.
And thank you for the super chats, Stubble. If I haven't already thanked you for that, you are so generous, and I so appreciate all of you guys who.
Be interested. Did Stubble appear on Rob's show last night? Because obviously, I think Stubble is from the land of Norse mythology. It'd be great to hear what he has to say about Thor, the latest Thor, because that's messing with your myths, dude.
Yeah, that is a really good point. And I think he did. I think he did have one or two super chats, but I can't remember what was said exactly. And that is a good point. I would just love to see. Recently we got The Northman, which was an incredible,
Mhm.
epic movie that had a lot of myths in it represented correctly, from what I've been told and from what I've seen, and it would be great to get a Thor film that represents that. Something that could have been something that would have been outside of the box for Marvel, wouldn't it? To have had something that focused more on that
But I think,
lore.
like I said, the themes in this movie, from what I've heard, are pretty dark, and they sort of make the decision to go with Taika. But if only they'd gone with somebody who had a completely different take. It's like, okay, that's the funny stuff over with. And if you look at the Eternals, which seems to be dealing with some cosmic shit, and also I've had this thought about Star Wars as well when the prequels came out. And the prequels were made for children, but the children who'd watched Star Wars had all grown up. And if you think about how long the MCU is going, 2008 it started. If you've grown up with that, you're an older person now, so maybe they could have and perhaps should have pitched this differently, made this a Shakespearean Thor. I know that the second one was a little bit too po-faced, but there is a balance. We've seen it in the first Thor movie. Marvel can do this stuff and they can do it well. But as somebody was, I think it was Joker was saying earlier on, it's just content now, and we're just throwing everything at the wall.
Yes, and thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson, for putting up my positive fandom link for subscription, and also Russell Whitfield's website, so you
Thanks,
can
Tom.
find out more about him as well as his fantastic book series and so much more. So, guys, do check that out. Woodrow's here with us. Hi, Woodrow.
Hello.
He says, you're the lone defender of good-looking costumes and casting. I love that you have the confidence to critique that. How does Thor stack up here? Well, I loved the costumes in this series. I think that some of the criticism, of course, to be had is that the idea, and it's difficult to see characters that don't look authentic, and so you have Hemsworth, who's 100% authentic. He looks like that out of the, as we can see, out of his costume. But some of the other characters don't look that way. So we have to kind of adjust to that. It was hard to see Russell Crowe kind of, not as in shape as he normally is, but they even made him look golden and glowing. And, his, I guess those were his muses or sirens or whatever you want to call those ladies who were with him, looked incredible. I thought that that was well done. I thought that the idea of the Asgardians and the way that they lived looked authentic. It looked really good. The Guardians still looked great. They were kind of still in their original costumes and things like that. I guess the only criticism I would have is the Stone character, which wasn't that impressive. And then at the end, you're only left with his face. And I had to wonder to myself, okay, this is what they wanted to do, but it wasn't the most impressive thing, you know, um, about the rocks, and maybe not something that impressed me from a design standpoint.
I'm
They,
so sorry. I have to drop off for a second.
yes, no worries. Hopefully Russ can come back in a moment, but I'm just going to remove his screen there. He has a call that he has to take. But overall, as I said before, when it comes to the character of Thor, my favorite outfit in him is where he wears the leather outfit. And for me, that just feels more authentic for some reason. It doesn't mean that it's any better or worse than the new shiny outfit that he has. I think that that outfit kind of matches what Jane is wearing, and they wanted to make it more cohesive and together. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that outfit, but I like the leather one better. I think that it was a good concerted effort on behalf of the designers, also the production designers as well. They did a great job. So that's how I feel about it. I think that they spent the time to make it look good. And of course, they didn't have to do anything with the rocks to make that look good or bad. So certainly that is one situation there where I thought that one fell flat, but it was an afterthought and an insertion. Certainly not the main focus. I thought that the Gore character's makeup, Chris Bale, I hope I'm saying the right character's name. It looked amazing, and I think we could have seen a little bit more of his culture, to actually see the culture rather than just start off where he's walking in the desert after everything is said and done. So it would have been nice to have seen them, but we did see some other cultures, and they took the time to show that, and it was nice. So I would give it a thumbs up. I think they did a good job overall. To answer your question, Woodrow. And so going on here, um, Mario Lopez says, and it just jumped here. Wow, I am really behind on these super chats. But I'm going to try and get to them before we finish. Um, Mario Lopez says Marvel would never expose Jane Foster to total nudity. And I guess it is a double standard. It certainly is something to think about. And it's a shame that, that is the case, because why not just be fair and show both? Darth Plato says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ignored the blip. That show would have been perfect for showing the aftermath of the event. And that is something that we talked about last night, about the repercussions of the blip, and not really having it explained as to what happened, how things were the same before and after. Dennis Mason says the Brits love their bums. And so we also have a comment by Mikey Lito, and he says, "Oh, Russ is not here, but I absolutely had no problem seeing Thor's nude body. I could have seen more of it." I agree with you, Russ, Mikey Lito. I also think that sometimes when you see people nude, the context of the nudity is important too. Um, Rogue Thinker says, sounds like it's kind of a mess with too much comedy for any feeling, kind of a lost opportunity and a waste of some great actors and characters. It is a lost opportunity. They need to scrap it and start over. That's how I feel. Oh, and Russ is back. Mark goes blind gaming. Hello, Russ. And says, I'm disappointed we only get to see his bottom. Would have been nice to see Thor's hammer. If they had shown that, I would have really just passed out like those women did in the sirens around
Mhm.
suits. I would have collapsed because my reaction to seeing his bare behind was so strong. I didn't think I was going to have that reaction, and it really distracted me immensely, which is not what I don't think that was really the best thing for the character. But Mike Alito says, fandom has become an echo chamber instead of people watching content and making up their own minds. Yeah, I can see that. And let's see. He makes a point of forming his own opinion, and I'm assuming everybody's forming their own opinions. And God knows, this is why we're here. We want to hear all those different opinions for sure. And you guys are giving them to us, and we so appreciate that. Darth Plato says that Stranger Things was interesting, but it bothered me that the other world didn't seem to have consistent rules. Yeah, it's true that there are some situations in it, and it's getting
But
complicated, Darth Plato.
it was, but I think season 4 was so good. It was just so well done. I didn't notice. I'm not gonna lie. I was blown away by season 4. So if there were inconsistencies, it passed me by in my fandom of that show.
And once again, hello to Latoya T. I'm a little behind on my these chats, but Latoya T, always a pleasure to see you on Sunday brunch. I hope you're well. And guys, once again, do check out Coco Tulip, Latoya T's exclusive fashion line. I promise you, you won't be disappointed, everybody. We also have Marcus Bisma. Hello, Marcus. He says hello, checking RM stream and slapping the like button. Well, thank you so much, Marcus Bisma. I sure hope you're having a great day here, wherever you are in the world.
And welcome. I don't think I've seen Marcus before, so welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday morning / afternoon or evening.
Absolutely. And we also have Jack Lumen. Jack Lumen, how are you? Good to see you again. Um, and Jack Lumen says, positive fandom, Bifrost, the rainbow bridge between Asgard and Midgard. Yes, absolutely. It's so great to see you here. Guys, this is Latoya T's website for Coco Tulip. Do check that out. And we have Jack Lemon says George Reeves Superman. There's been a bit of talk and chatter about Superman here. Also, OG Star Wars when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Hello to you, OG Star Wars when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Welcome to Positive Fandom Sunday Brunch Show. He says exactly, if you want to make a movie about anyone, don't make it someone different than the market. Then you market it as one thing when it's really another. That's the definition of bait and switch. Absolutely. It would have been very bold of them to go ahead and just focus on Jane. that
Mm,
people would have watched that film. They would have known it was just about Jane. And like I said, I think they could have used her nerdy parts. That sounds weird. Her
mm.
nerdy brain to explain the direction of the MCU going forward. Since she is intelligent, Marcy was there. They could have figured it out. And, kind of like what they kind of did with WandaVision, where they had to figure out what was going on. What exactly was this phenomena? Rogue Thinker says there are certainly some great reasons for Power Girl to be a favorite. She is one of my favorite DC characters as well. I think DC might need that movie, Russ.
I'd love to see that. I'm talking softly. I think Dennis is saying my volume's up really loud. I don't think I can control that, Dennis. I mean, if I do this, if I turn it down, does that make any difference? No,
Not on my end, so
no,
no.
because then I can't hear you. So I'm sorry, Dennis. I can't do anything about that. Yeah, but Power Girl, absolutely. I'd love to see a Power Girl show on HBO Max. I just think that would be the best thing ever. I always thought with Power Girl, because she was not originally, but has just become this sort of like overtly sort of sexualized character. I think they should absolutely embrace that and have Power Girl as like in the same way as they do in The Boys. Sort of have Power Girl as this sort of commercialized superhero that's going around trying to do the right thing. But is a sort of bit of a media sensation and all that stuff. I'd love to see that. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I'd love to write that actually. If one of my wishes came true, yeah, I'd like to write a Power Girl TV show. I could have great fun with that. But yes, love her.
Well, Darth Vader says he'd be shocked if Power Girl was on screen. And Dennis Mason says that volume is fine now. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Um,
Den.
and of course, Dennis says, yeah, Jane's perfect nerdy parts. Yes, I'm sorry. That was a little accidental comment.
Hmm.
So that is very funny. Also, what I was going to say is Stubble McShave had made a recommendation to me. I saw Elvis last week, which was an excellent film. So, guys, if you see Elvis or want to go see Elvis, you won't be disappointed in it. And he recommended another Elvis live concert, which I watched with my mother. And it was great. And he says, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And
Was that
thank you so
Hawaii
much.
'73?
Uh,
Aloha was it,
yeah, I
Aloha
think it
Hawaii,
was,
or was it the '68 comeback special?
I don't, I think it was, I can't remember what it was called. I
Was
think
he
it
in a
was
white suit or a black suit?
white.
That would be probably Aloha Hawaii 1973.
And he was thin. He wasn't
Yeah,
heavy Elvis. He looked
yeah.
good. He looked really
Elvis is the
good.
king, man. I love Elvis. I'm a massive Elvis fan. I think he's brilliant.
Absolutely. Guys, check out Mikey Lito's channel on YouTube and
Hmm.
subscribe. Certainly do that for us here. We're trying to support one another. And we are in the process of making sure that we mention everybody who has a channel here. And also, please subscribe to Positive Fandom. So, there is that. Also, Joker Voice makes a comment about, as far as casting, the casting director who works with Marvel, Sarah Haley Finn, is one of the best in the business. She certainly
Clearly.
has, and I'm sorry, she certainly has brought us amazing actors, the top actors, in the world to play these characters. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Mhm.
And Bloodsport One says, you like Thor's arms. Come on, guys. You saw him just standing there and he's got the guns out. And it was just like, wow, it was impressive. It's not easy to kind of just look like that. Unless you're his brother, I think, who's in the film too. There's a segment where his brother plays Thor. Um, and I think everybody likes his bum. So that's not just me. I think everybody likes it. So there is that. But the other thing that I was going to say is, and I think Stubble has one more comment that I'm trying to get. Okay. Stubble says, did you say there is a date for season 2 Wheel of Time yet? That's what Tom Jr. Jackson is asking Stubble. If there is, Stubble, can you please let us know? Oh, here it is. They don't have it, but probably next year. So that is going to be coming. And I certainly will be doing a review with Stubble for Wheel of Time season 2. So the other thing that, what else were we going to be talking about? Because we certainly did spend a lot of time on Thor Love and Thunder, Russ. I think the other topic that we wanted to briefly touch on had to do with the idea. And, last night, we were talking about the success in certain shows, and I had made a comment where I said, Stranger Things as well as The Boys have been successful this season, but they weren't successful the previous seasons, not as
Hmm.
much. and they were able to turn it around. Clearly, the MCU can turn it around. But even Stranger Things took 3 years off to get things right. They took some time
Wow,
off to,
was it that long ago? Was
yes,
it
it
that I can't
was.
believe it.
Yes, that's why it
Wow.
feels like the kids are like in their 30s now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my kind of point of all this was the notion of, in the interim, what we've been seeing are these fantastic shows that are based on books, like number one bestseller books, such as the Reacher series, which was a huge success for Amazon, and Skydance. And now there's this other series that's coming out called Terminal List with
Mhm.
Chris Pratt, an equally involved series. There's a lot going on in these shows, and we're getting a lot of very interesting adaptations of these best sellers. So, what do you think we're going to continue to get that? I mean, a lot of these adaptations are very true. I can't say for Terminal List, but Reacher was, very accurate to what the author intended, and it was refreshing to get an adaptation that was like the story. What do you think, Russ? What do you think the
Y
future of that's going to be?
Like, sort of refreshing and depressing, I think, in a way. I was thinking about this, which is why I wanted to talk about Terminal List, actually. It's fantastic. It was not what I expected going into that show at all. Like, the whole issues that the main character is having, it just threw me complete. It was a complete curveball from what I'd saw in the trailers, but a good curveball. Like, they kept that under wraps. And now I haven't finished watching the show yet. I got well into writing a screenplay yesterday. I was supposed, so sorry, chat. I didn't actually get to watch it. I said to Rita, "Oh, I'm gonna finish watching this show by Sunday." And of course, I didn't, because I was doing extracurricular activities with a new karate movie. So, but yeah, moving on from that, what I was thinking, a lot of our genre entertainment, a lot of our fantastical entertainment seems to be, as we've spoken about many times, so full of messaging and so full of finger wagging and so not what it says on the tin. I'm finding myself more and more drawn to stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily watch. And that stuff seems to be stuff like Reacher. I've never read those books. I've no interest in that character whatsoever. What I found when I watched Reacher was, here was a show with a diverse cast that didn't make a show about its diverse cast. It had its main hero, and the main hero looked like what he looked like in the books, and he was written in the show like he was written in the books. I'm led to believe, all the reviews I've said it's great. He's just like Reacher from the books, and the show had really no overt political messaging. It was just a brilliant show. Now I'm finding the same with Terminal List. Its main character is its main character, as he probably was in the books. You know, the cast is fairly diverse, and it's just telling a good story. But this isn't the stuff that I find myself normally drawn to. I like superheroes. I like science fiction and things like that. But with the ubiquitous takeover of these properties, by Disney, essentially, I'm over it. I'm kind of bored with content. I think, as Darth Plato was saying earlier on. Whereas these shows, which exist on the same platforms as things like Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong, but they're excellent. It's so well written. I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to know what's happening. No one's wagging their finger at me. The hero is the hero. He's allowed to be a hero. He's allowed to be a manly man. He kicks the shit out of bad guys, and he does stuff, and he's got his problems, and I'm hooked, and I'm drawn in. And I kind of wish that that the fantastic shows would get back to just being fantastic shows about fantastic things, and not turn everything into a bun fight. I think it was Mikey was saying earlier on, actually, that that's the trouble, that we get into these echo chambers. And I would say yes and no to that, Mikey. What I've seen on the Facebook, which is full of the older folk, um, everything to me seems to be a bun fight. So, and you've got people with hardened positions on either side that are never going to change their mind. Thor is the greatest film ever. No, it's crap. Obi-Wan is the greatest show ever. No, it's crap. And these arguments just kick off in the chat. So it's interesting to see that fantastic entertainment, superheroes, fantasy with Lord of the Rings and the Wheel of Time. I mean, this Rings of Power thing, is very very divisive on online. Seem to be going too much too much down the road of messaging for me. Whereas you got shows like Reacher and now the Terminal List, which aren't that. And indeed, I think with Terminal List, that this isn't too much of a spoiler. It's critical of what the U.S. government does and how it operates, but it's not anti-American. Yeah, and it's fair to make a comment on this, like saying, well, this is what they do, and is this good or is this bad? But it's not sort of saying, oh, America bad, China great, and isn't this guy terrible because he's just a horrible killing machine? No, it's not that. It's just a great show. So I wonder where we're going, um, because certainly it Terminal List reminded me of a great show from the United Kingdom in 2010, a show called Strike Back.
Yes.
Yeah, Strike Back was I love that show, and it was actually in the days it was the days of cable, so we didn't have streaming so much then. So you had to wait a week in between episodes of Strike Back. And Strike Back was a similar thing. It was one guy was in the SAS and one guy was an ex Navy SEAL, and they just went round, righting wrongs. And there was always an overarching plot about someone who had a nuclear bomb or someone was going to do this, that, and the other. The show was brilliant, and it just had everything you want as a juvenile action fan, which I totally am. So it was almost like the script was written to form, because every 7 minutes there was either a fight or some nudity, pointless nudity, but nevertheless, I remember I was watching the one episode, and I was with my wife at the time. We were sat there, me and Sal, and I said to her, "Yeah, it's been a bit long before since there's been any boobs or fighting." And literally, as I said it, this stunningly beautiful woman just walks out of this shack, completely naked for no reason. She just walked across the camera. I was like, "Oh, there you go, good one, Strike Back." So, I do love Strike Back. Project Dawn, that was, I think. But yeah, so to get back to your point on Terminal List, I like the direction that they're taking with Terminal List. I like the direction that they're taking with Reacher. That's the sort of stuff I want to see. And these shows are um, hugely successful. I mean, Reacher was a smash. They're going to make another season of that. I'm hoping. Well, I saw a comment online about Terminal List. Someone that's completed the season. I'd be interested to get your take on this, RM. The guy said Terminal List was perfect. I do not want a second season. They have done it. They have nailed it. They have smashed it. Keep it as that.
Well, I think it is perfect. I have no idea whether a second season is coming or not. I mean, I think it could be standalone, and it is perfect as is. So I'm satisfied with what we have now. I'm not anticipating more seasons like I am with Reacher, which I clearly know there is going to be many seasons of Reacher, probably at least five.
Mm,
So it doesn't have the same feel to it that Terminalist doesn't have the same feel to it that Reacher has, where you're expecting him. He's leaves the town. He's going on more of a journey. So,
mhm.
um, yeah, I don't. I'm not sure whether an extra season would hurt it or help it. All I know right now is that it's perfect.
Yeah. So I think this is the point. Like, it's a good story, well told, and sometimes that's all you need. Let's just, all great stories have an end. And I think this is the point the guy was making about Terminal. This is like, you've told that story now. Let's have a different show, perhaps. I don't know, because I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's going to leave me wanting. Well, I guess you could make the argument about Stranger Things, couldn't you? Like, the first one was so good, but then we wouldn't have this awesome season 4 with everyone's fan favorite Eddie. But yeah, no, that's really what I wanted to say. It seems like, in some ways, the action genre, as opposed to the fantastic superhero, fantasy sci-fi genre, action might be having a little bit of a resurgence. And these shows are so well done, the fight scenes are so well done, and the plots, because they're based on novels by and large, seem to have a little bit more intelligence about them than your average screenplay these days. There's a lot to be taken from. You can see this with Game of Thrones, how brilliant the first couple of seasons were until they ran out of novel material, and then it started to go downhill. Um, and I know Rob Meyer Burnett talks a lot about this, doesn't he? About sort of literary education versus an education of just having watched similar stuff. And I guess that's coming to light now when we watch these shows. And yeah, Mikey makes a recommendation here: Bosch and Bosch Legacy. I haven't seen Bosch, but I've heard good things about it.
And he also goes on to recommend Only Murders in the Building. I think that has uh, Selena Gomez, I think,
Hmm.
and Martin Short and Steve Martin, I think.
Wow,
Uh,
a couple of
I
names I
could be
haven't heard in
wrong
a long time.
on this, but it is actually a very impressive cast. So that would be something to check out. Um, and certainly it is no harm in looking at some of the other genres out there. But certainly, I think that what we're seeing is a resurgence in these patriotic, military-inspired um, dramas
Yeah, well, Top
from.
Gun. I mean, the latest Top Gun. That wears its stars and stripes firmly on its sleeve, and more power to it. I think it's great. I think we spoke about this a little while ago, didn't we? I think audiences are crying out for that. They really seem to enjoy a bit of America. Fuck yeah, why not? I think it's great.
Michael Ito mentions that he watched The Road to Perdition, a 2002 film with Tom Hanks, cast against type with Paul Newman, Stanley Tucci, Daniel Craig, and Jude Law, and then unknown Tyler Hoechlin.
Superman.
And it sounds like a great cast. Rogue Thinker says, I think the Terminal List has more than one book. So if the next book is good, I would trust them enough to make a season based on
It's a
that.
good point. As I say, I haven't got to the end of it yet. It's just this guy whose opinion I trust, if you like. He was saying no, it's perfect. Just leave it as is. But I'll go with you on that, Rogue, as well.
And Joker Voice, you take care. It was wonderful to have you in the stream today, and it was wonderful to have all of you in the chat today, guys. And I did want to say, Russ, where can people find you?
Well, I've got a website, russellwhitfield.com, which is a thousand years out of date. But you can also just email me at contact@russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can we find you, RM?
Well, guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom on YouTube and on Twitch. Guys, I stream at the same time. So please subscribe to both Twitch and YouTube. Mondays, you can find me on Toxic Femininity on the Midnight's Edge channel with Lorena and Nina Infinity. On Tuesday, I am going to be doing my review of Indian cinema with Lorena at 7 p.m. on my channel, Positive Fandom. So do check that out. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. On Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me streaming with Lorena on our show, Toxic Masculinity, Toxic Male Appreciation. On Twitch at 5 p.m. on Lorena's channel. On Friday at 12, you can find me on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre. Um, on Saturday or Sunday or one of those days on the weekend, you can find me on the Post Geek Singularity Network with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Musings. And of course, and on Sunday, I am going to be doing a film review, a watch party with Lorena. We haven't decided what it's going to be on Saturday night, but that's coming up. And on Sunday, always you can find me here on this Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please do come back, guys. It was great hearing all of you today. Um,
One last thing I'd like to say, as I saw it popping up in the chat before we go. Back in the day, I would have cast Pamela Anderson as Power Girl, but if I had to choose a Power Girl for a TV show or a movie now, I would say stick a blonde wig on Alexander Daddario and you're A for away. She is Power Girl as far as I'm concerned, the modern Power Girl. That would be my choice out of the bat. Someone mentioned Gina, and I think Gina, not for me. I think Alexandra would be better. But there you go. That's my final word.
and Terrier says, do you know what made Top Gun Maverick do so well? We, the audience, are hungry for something that looks and feels real. And I agree with
Hmm.
you, Terrier, 100%. Mikey Lito says, watch content, form opinion, and have a nice week. Ciao for now.
Cheers,
And
Mikey.
Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people, says, on behalf of our Russ Whitfield and myself, thank you all for coming and joining. And in our parlay of pop culture, always remember to please be kind, guys. I couldn't have said it better myself. Everybody, have a great day. Retro Nerd Girl, take care.
Bye, Retro
Um,
Nerd Girl.
Guys, and do remember to be kind. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.